Hello! Today I'm going to be talking about a manga that is not very known yet, but I'm sure it will get some attention soon, seeing as how it's currently serializing in Shonen Jump Weekly. Mitama Security is a manga by Hatomune Tsurun and is currently at 4 volumes at the time of recording this video. I've only read the first one so far, but I really wanted to share some thoughts about it. Again, this manga is still pretty new. It only started serializing in September of last year, but I think it would work really well as an animation and would be a pretty popular one at that. In my opinion, it's kind of like a mixture between Hanako-kun and Saikike. Anyways, let me tell you first what the story is about. It's a simple story about a girl called Rena. And she's a high school girl, and ever since she can remember, there's a line of ghosts following her, but only she can see them. And since that has always been the case, she's kind of used to it by now, and she just accepts it. One day, a guy called Mitama appears in front of her and explains to her that he's part of the Security. Rei means ghost, so it's kind of a wordplay there. And he makes it his mission to help her get rid of these ghosts. She's surprised that he could see them, but she accepts it. So the Security, I think in English they just call it security, is sort of an organization that fights against ghosts, or its job is to secure you from ghosts. Haze doesn't really mind the ghosts since they don't do anything sinister or something. As it turns out, Mitama is really bad at his job because he's actually scared to death by the ghosts. And this sort of story isn't usually what catches my eye. I'm not really into fantasy all that much, to be honest, but the humor is really what drives the story. So Mitama and Haze start hanging out together and they get into all sorts of different adventures. All the while, Mitama's goal being freeing Haze from her companions. But since the story is set in the real world, it feels more like a slice of life comedy story. The fact that the ghosts are there doesn't really play a role all that much. They're just sort of a gimmick. The chapters don't all seem to be connected, at least in the first volume, so each chapter is sort of its own little story. More characters are introduced, for example, Mitama's school rival Soya, who's also part of the Security. And also we meet a classmate of Rena's, who claims to be a super well-known detective. And they all have really weird names, by the way, especially that one detective guy. He has a very long and weird name, and I think it's a parody of the types of names people used to have in the past, which used to be really long. It made me laugh in any case. All of the characters seem pretty chunibyo-ish, except for Rena. But since the ghosts are actually there and it's their job to get rid of them, they're not chunibyo in that sense that they live in a fantasy world, but they're still a bit delusional when it comes to their own abilities. They are very good at certain things, but pride themselves on being able to do completely different things they're usually pretty bad at. The humor can seem a bit loud, which I would find annoying and honestly cheap in other series. But the story is interesting, or I should say the characters are charming enough, so it's okay with me here. And as you know, humor is very subjective, but personally I had to laugh a lot reading this. Rena is always pretty chill while the others freak out about every little thing. I like this kind of balance or dynamic, and that's why I said earlier it reminded me kind of Saikike, since he's also the cool guy who knows more than everybody else, and the rest just like freaks out and has crazy adventures and just drags him into them, and he's surrounded by all these crazy loud people. And it's kind of the same here. I especially like the scenes between Mitama and Soya. They claim to be rivals and insult each other all the time. They fight and randomly reveal each other's embarrassing secrets from their school days randomly to strangers. but they actually care deeply about each other. They just scream at each other and tell each other to take fucking care of themselves, freaking idiots. For example, one time when Mitama felt a little down, Soya invited him to go ghost hunting, but they ended up having this whole fun day together. There sadly is the possibility that there will be some sort of romantic development between Mitama and Haserena. I really hope it won't though, because I would wish for more special relationships, especially between men and women that are not romantic necessarily. Like, I just want some special type of connection between people, and it doesn't always have to be romance, you know what I mean? But maybe that's just me. I'm just kidding, I know it's not just me. The art is really not my thing, it doesn't really stand out, and it doesn't seem very unique or something that would necessarily catch your eye. But I guess in comedy, if nowhere else, it's forgivable. Again, I feel like this would make a great anime, and I think a lot of people would enjoy this, and I'd recommend you check out the first few chapters if you're into comedy in general. And just see if the humor aligns with yours. I'm afraid some of the humor could get lost in translation though, since there sometimes are wordplays, and wordplays are extremely hard to translate. I really don't know how they're gonna do this, so if you read the English version, please tell me how they're doing that and just tell me how that goes. If you check it out, please tell me what you think about it. I love comedy and I'm really happy with what the series brings to the table. So please share your opinions if you read it. Next time I want to talk about a manga that everybody's currently reading, and I know that's not my goal on this channel, to be honest, but I just love this manga so much, and it's called Chainsaw Man. But I promise I will do more niche manga after that. Thank you to my 2 viewers. If you made it until the end, thank you very much for your time.